Hi, I'm Charlie from BAK Industries, and I'm here to show you how easy it is to bolt on your new BakFlip. Now, we've got a GM truck, and the GM truck we're using today because it has an indentation in the rail which makes for a very unique installation. Many trucks like the Fords and the Dodges have a very square rail and it's easy just to clamp straight on. But the Chevys, the GMCs, some of the older Dodges have an indentation in the lower section of the rail, and understanding the system, the shims, and how it all works is the key to a proper installation. Here I've drawn a cross section of the rail of the truck. It comes up the bedside, comes across the horizontal surface, and then drops down towards the floor of the bed on the inside edge of the rail, and there's an indentation in the lower section of the rail, and at the bottom of many of these trucks there's a little flange that's flared over at the bottom of the sheet metal where it ends. Now we include a shim kit. There's 8 of them that are included in the kit. There's a little bundle of them that's in the end of the packaging next to the clamps. Now this shim is going to go in that indentation, and that's going to make a square clamping surface. Now when you're putting the clamp in place, you want to pay attention that the jaws of the clamp are resting on this flat surface and not on this flared over flange. As long as that happens, your rail is going to clamp square. If the jaws of the teeth land on that flared over flange, it's going to kick over the clamp, which is going to cause an angle of the rail. So understanding that and getting the rail clamped on square is the key to a proper installation. We want to make sure you're able to do that. In the kit, you're going to find a pair of BakFlip rails. You're also going to find some large shim stock. This is a spacer shim. We refer to these as an angle shim to get the angle of the rail correct, but this is a spacer shim. Now this truck already has a bed cap protector. This is actually bed cap protector material. It's the same thickness. Now since this truck already has a bed cap protector, this will be discarded. Now if you have Line-X sprayed over the rail or if you have a stick-on cap protector, this is not going to be required. If you have left the painted rail, then you're going to need to add this spacer shim to bring the rails closer together to allow them to properly latch as the cover is being closed. If you have an issue with latches not engaging the rail properly, you want to take a look at this shim and whether or not you've added it on correctly. So come in closer and I'll show you how the rail is going to clamp on. So here we are inside the bed of the truck. It's usually easier to install the rail from the inside edge instead of working from the outside. You're also not going to be scratching the painted surface by standing in the bed of the truck or kneeling in the bed of the truck. Now again, this spacer shim, the large one, since this truck already has bed cap protectors, we don't need it. Now the small shims that are made to do the angle of the rail are going to be attached to that indentation in the rail, flush with the bottom edge, giving the broadest, flattest surface to clamp to. Now we've already pre-applied these shims. One in the indentation nearest the tailgate, one at the first position where the clamp will fit, which is roughly 10 inches from the edge of the tailgate. At the front it will be 10 inches back from the bulkhead roughly, and then in the center of the truck just behind the wheel well area here. The BakFlip rail sets in the opening. You want to make sure that the tailgate is able to close and that it's not protruding too far to the rear. Now if you have an issue with clearance, there's a good possibility you've got a plastic drop-in bed liner. Some plastic drop-in bed liners have 3/4 of an inch thickness at the tailgate, and in some cases even more at the front. And slightly notching that drop-in plastic bed liner may be required to provide clearance for the tailgate to properly close and for the rail to clamp on easily. Now the clamp, you spread the jaws, you insert them up into the rail as far as you can. Bring it to the rear of the truck as far as you can and get it to where it just starts to tighten. Now this is a 9/16 wrench. You want to give it a little bit of a snug. Now there's a rubber seal on this rail, and that will prevent water from leaking between the bed cap of the truck and the BakFlip rail. So you want to make sure to push a little bit of downforce on there as you clamp the clamp. Now, once you got it start to tight, 1, 2, 3/4 of a turn. Now you want to make sure that that clamp does not rotate over. It should be nice and square on the rail. There are teeth in the jaws and there are teeth in the rail that mesh, and if it's kicked over at an angle, you haven't clamped it properly. So make sure that's square, make sure it's snug. Again, once it starts to get tight, 3/4 of an additional turn. Again, you bring it up in the front. Now this is in the same location as we've installed those angle shims so that everything is going to align square. So get it to where it starts to snug. A little bit of downforce. 1, 2, 3/4 of a turn is plenty of clamping force. We're going to finish off the front one. We're going to show you how to install the cover on the rails. General Motors has an option for a sliding tie-down track system, as this truck has come equipped. Now on the opposite side we showed you the clamps without the track system so that you could understand how the clamp goes with the rail. Now in the instance of the track system, the clamp, as you can see on this front one, is going to sit between the bed rail of the truck and the track system. And the way you get that in there, you can either fish it up in behind, go over 90 degrees, and clock it over where you rotate it into position, or the other way would be to take the two halves apart, put the one half in behind, and then thread in the piece from the front. Now the track system is going to come in handy here because you can actually rest the clamp on the track system, bring the rail into position, and then lower it on the spread open jaws of the clamp. Then we would come in, tighten this down the way we did on the opposite side, making sure that everything clamps square, making sure the jaws are past that flange in the back, and that the rail is square on the truck. Now we're going to finish this side up, and we're going to show you how the cover goes on at the front. Taped onto your BakFlip, you're going to find a long seal. This is a bulkhead seal, and it's used on trucks that do not have drop-in plastic bed liners. Now if you have a drop-in plastic bed liner that wraps over the bulkhead in the front, this surface is higher, and it's going to seal against the BakFlip, the flap seal that's at the front. On trucks that have a painted bulkhead and do not have a wrap-over plastic drop-in bed liner, this seal is going to go on top of the bulkhead, and it's going to create a watertight seal to the flap seal that's on the BakFlip. So we've already pre-applied this seal to the truck, and now we're going to install the BakFlip on the rails. Simply set the cover in the opening. Now the aluminum framework of the cover needs to sit just inside the sheet metal of the bulkhead of the truck. And you can see that flap seal is coming down on that bulkhead seal that we've added. There's an elevator bolt, flat-headed bolt, that drops through the front hinge panel of the BakFlip, and it goes through the slotted bracket that's in the rail. And then we're going to show you how to align the cover and how to tighten the star knobs underneath to fasten the cover to the rail properly. Okay, here we are. We've got the cover in position. We've got the elevator bolt with the threaded stud coming through the panel and through the slotted bracket of the BakFlip rail. The hardware that attaches it starts with the rubber washer, flat steel washer, lock washer, and then finally is fastened with a threaded 5-star finger nut. Now you want to get that on there, get it somewhat snug, but leave it a little bit loose because you still need to make a final adjustment on the cover, and then we'll come in and we'll tighten those up. Now on the rail, there's a drain fitting on the front edge of the BakFlip rail. Now there's a rain gutter system in the rail. If any water gets past the seal, any dirt or debris that allows that, this rain gutter will drain water away. And at the front end, there's a little spout. Now this drain hose is going to attach right on there. If you have a drop-in plastic bed liner, you can route the hose out through the bed liner, and it will find its way to the ground through the bed of the truck because, believe me, they don't want a bathtub back there. There's plenty of drainage from the bed. But if you notice, on the inside edge of your stake pocket hole location, there's a convenient hole that you can route a shorter version of that by simply trimming down the hose and routing it through that location. So make sure that you attach the drain hoses properly. If you're getting water in the bed, it's probably because you didn't install the hoses. So we've got all the basic installation complete. Let's square it up, tighten everything up, and finish up this install. Now the side of the seals are going to sit inside the rail, and you need to make sure that everything closes and latches properly and that everything's aligned square. Now this aluminum framework of the BakFlip needs to sit inside the edge of the tailgate, and this flap seal is going to rest on top of the tailgate surface. So you want to make sure to get an alignment Forward and back, square it up a little bit. Make sure it's not too far forward, not too far back. Everything should latch properly. Now let's fold it open. We're going to apply the bumper seals on the front of the cab and tighten everything up. So we've got everything installed, and we just need to tighten up the star knobs to secure the cover to the rails properly. I've left this panel down so that I didn't change the alignment where I had set it originally at the tailgate. So by reaching up underneath, I can tighten up these star knobs and get ready to finish this install. Now when you fold open the product, you're going to find 3 D-shaped bumpers taped onto the panel here. And where those go are here on the front edge of the BakFlip panel where it leans against the cab. We've already pre-applied them to this panel at the very high edge, 3 inches from the side, in the center, and again 3 inches from the side. You don't want them at the very edge here or they'll interfere with the rail and cause the cover to lift as you're closing it. So make sure that you've spaced them in from the edge at the top of the panel where it is going to pad and protect the paint, the glass, and the product. Now with these lock rods in place on each side, this is going to give you full access to your pickup bed for loading large equipment and driving safely at highway speeds. You'll also notice that the cover comes in below the third brake light on the truck, which is Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard compliant for legal highway use. So there we have it. Our BakFlip is installed. What an easy job. It took less than an hour. It took 1 wrench, a 9/16 wrench. So get more out of your truck, get more into your truck with your new BakFlip today.